Time itself is falling back into a void of sudden death, and hands surround to fading black the winds of sorrow and failing breath. 3 came nigh to stem the tide across a vast and shattered waste. They cursed the fear that dwelt inside and gave the mouth a bitter taste. 3 they were, the triad's edge, who came to set the captives free, the midst of turmoil a razor's edge, to shed the blood that pulsed in me. It was I who led them in, a certain death for all who came, to worthy battle evil and sin, the end of all whom death could claim. Three who came, dwarf, elf, and man, who followed paths of death and gloom, came down from hills and tree-filled glens. It was I who led them toward their doom. The dwarf, a warrior, fierce and proud, held high his axe to catch the light. The steel on steel spoke clear and loud of this grim fighter's desire and might. His eyes were shells of hardened steel that bore into the mind and soul. His beard spoke tales of strength of will. His blinding speed belied his goal. The elf, a creature of elegance, her bow betrayed her harmless grace. An arrow knocked to guard from chance, a look of sadness marred her face. A child of life who hated death, and tears were shed for all who fell. She cried with them their final breath, and died inside for them as well. The human, arrogant but sure, his sword defined was part of him. His soul was stained but heart was pure, the leader of the three who came. And though he had a lesser time, he lived his life for all he could. He led the three through muck and grime, to fight and die with him he would. And I who led them tell this tale, for that is all that I can do. For pain it does not suit me well, it's better I tell this to you. Life itself is falling back into a void of certain death, and light surrounds the fading black, and winds of sorrow are failing breaths. With axe and bow and sharpened steel, the path they traveled opened wide, and rumors of doom for those who kill were spread throughout the countryside. And ever forward still they came, the masses of evil ever strong. They fought and fled to strike and maim, and they prefaced the warrior's song. For though the evil force was great, the three were settled in their course, and though the masses' plan was laid, they could not stop the triad's force. The three they marched a hurried pace, and soon arrived at evil's door. They stood a moment at the gates that led to sorrow, pain, and more. The silence betrayed their beating hearts, and preyed upon the fear within. And from the light the three depart into the bowels of tortured sin. And I, who led the three to hell, was there to remember the pain endured. And this is a song of the warrior's tale, and I am the one who sings these words. Into the bowels of hell they fled, to certain death and tortuous pain. In the underground sea found demon's head, the isle from which none return again. And strange how memory returns in time, to a place where no evil can ever deface. It gives us the strength to survive the rhyme, where the rhythm of life is torn from its place. So with strength renewed, the three struggled on, till they came to the place where the battle would end. For good or for ill, the three fought the dragon, the dwarf and the elf, and the leader, a man. The worm drew a breath which engulfed them in flame, but for charms that they carried they would surely have died, and they fell upon him as one and the same, where they drove home their steel as the saddened elf cried. Her tears became diamonds on the dying worm's grave, and the battle so long in coming had ended at last. And I who was there think of the world they have saved, but I wonder if evil was left in that past. For as they returned to the light of the sun, I remember their faces and the bitter regret. And though I believe that the battle was won, the memory of evil is hard to forget. And for those three heroes I've written this song, for I who was with them feel love for them still. And it pains me to think of their long journey home, where the fire from the worm burned their trees and their hills. Life is a journey that leads only to death, the void of our souls fading slowly to black. The wind is a whisper of our dying breath, and hands that surround us are pulling us back.